Welcome back, and we're moving into our final conversation for today as we get to find out more about some very interesting things happening between SJC, St. Louis School, and St. Martin de Porres. We have with us on set Jeff Pitts, who is the facilitator for the workshop that's ongoing. It's a robotics workshop. He's from St. Louis University High School, and he's the director of the Clavius project. And with us, we have two teachers from St. Martin de Porres who are also participating in the project, Sherelee McKenzie and Kareesh Archer. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
And there's a toy in front of me, so I'm going to try to have to not touch it and focus on the conversation.
That's right.
Which I imagine you have to do every day when you're with these kids. But Jeff, tell us before we talk about robotics, what is the Clavius project?
So the Clavius project was an effort that was actually begun by some students at St. Louis University High School in St. Louis, Missouri, to try to bring some technical education or some hands-on fun STEM activity to middle school students in the city of St. Louis. So 3 years ago, we started with about 11 middle schools and about 85 students. Next year we'll have close to 60 middle schools in St. Louis and over 1,000 students who will be doing robotics and coding and other STEM activities. And so from small beginnings, we're becoming very big. Well, some of the folks down here at St. Martin's through St. Louis University had heard about the Clavius project and asked if it would be a possibility to do robotics at St. Martin de Porres School. And when I was first approached, I've never traveled internationally.
Wow.
Okay, so my first trip has been to Belize.
Oh,
it's been amazing.
You're a lucky guy.
Yeah, I am a lucky guy. It's been amazing. And we're just so fortunate here to be able to work with such terrific educators and the whole group at St. John's College, the high school there, and then St. Martin de Porres. And we've started a phenomenon in robotics at those two schools.
Now, why teach robotics? Why is this important for children at such a young age to learn and to master?
Well, as they progress through their grade school experiences and they start to get older and they start looking at high school, their brains are starting to figure out, what do I really like to do? You know, gone are the days of just conforming to whatever the teacher was teaching us in the classroom, and now they're starting to think, gosh, what am I really interested in? And through robotics and through this particular platform from Lego Education, they start to get exposed to what could be. You know, are they interested in programming? Are they interested in the robot itself? How does it work? The sensors, the computing, all those kinds of things. And like, this was our first try down here at St. Martin's.
Yeah.
And we have like over 20 students right now, close to 24 students doing the program. And the result has just been incredible. The students are just really taking to it. I always have low expectations. Every time I go into a new school, I just don't know, are the students really going to like this? Are they going to enjoy it? Are they going to get it? And almost every time, and it's certainly true here at St. Martin's and St. John's, they just love it, and they're curious, and they're engaged, and they're learning about, maybe in a small way, some real applications with math and technology and science. Yeah.
So it's not just teaching St. Martin's, it's teaching St. John's High School.
Right, so
and the educators as well.
Right, so we did an educator workshop. Sherelee and Miss Kay can talk about their experience at the workshop, but first we wanted to make sure we trained our mentors and our educators, because this is new for them as well. It was new for me when I got exposed to it. And so we did that the first week, and now we're doing a 2-week-long camp for both the high school students at St. John's College and the St. Martin de Porres students.
So ladies, you go into a workshop and tell me what your thoughts are, why you were interested in participating, and just what the overall experience was.
Well, for me, at first, I wasn't really on board with it because I was scared. I told myself, robotics, I'm not sure if I could do this. It's something foreign.
Yeah.
So I remember I told Miss Encalada, I'm not sure if I want to participate. I don't want to create any kind of misconception for the kids. Yeah. But she was like, nah, you and Miss Sherelee, I chose you guys because I knew you guys could do it. You're going to take on the challenge and you're going to add a spunk to it. And I must say, from the time I entered into the camp until now, it has been fun.
Yeah.
It's something, it's so amazing. It's something awesome. Honestly, I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah. Was it difficult to learn?
Honestly, no.
Yeah.
It was very easy. Building the robots, at first I was like, you know, my little,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of patience putting the pieces together. But surprisingly, the kids, they do it even better than us, the teachers. They're really doing great.
Yeah. Ever you?
It was nice. I enjoyed every moment of it. I was excited at first when they told us about the camp. I said, you know, I wasn't going to do anything during the summer break. I didn't have any plans to travel or stuff like that. So I said, why not invest my time in something positive? So when we got into the camp, and on the first day, Mr. Jeff and Mr. John, oh man, they welcomed us and they had us feel like, you know, it's not going to be hard, it's very easy. And I thought to myself, well, if middle grade students could do it, then I could do it.
That's right.
So when we started building, we had to sort out the pieces. It's like you had to take all the different pieces and put them into categories. And used a manual which had no words, it only had pictures, and I love that because I'm a visual person. So it was really captivating, and you learn very fast.
Now both of you teach the lower grades. It's you teach
Standard 3.
and
Infant 2.
infant 2. And was anything that you, because those are to me some of the most, my mom taught infant 2 for 30 years. Was there anything on the skill sets? Because at that point in time, it's very difficult to teach children. You're trying to transmit out of just ABCs and add on. Was any of the skills that you not naturally have easily translate into getting them into robotics? The older ones, because I assume it's the older kids that, you know, teaching a new language of the alphabet, robotics alphabet.
It was quite easy to transfer the energy from being used to teaching the babies and dealing with the older kids. Because when you go in there and they learn about it, it's more about being focused, and it's something that they want to learn it because it's new to them. And then to them, it's like a toy, so that captures their attention. And so it was very easy to you know, control the energy in the room and get them to focus and really get into it. So it was quite easy for me.
It's like a built-in reward system. You get to play if it works,
Yeah.
right? Jeff, talk to us though, because I love that the educators have been involved. You could have brought students and worked exclusively with the kids.
Right.
You know, as an educator yourself, you said you were a bit daunted at taking on the program.
Right.
How important is it? I joke that, you know, we have to learn how to learn like this, while the younger generation naturally learns like this. A 6-month-old can manipulate a cell phone.
Right.
How important is it that educators and just adults in general begin to embrace the importance of understanding these skills, like coding?
Right. Well, back in the States, as an example, there are 5.8 million jobs still available in STEM career fields. And trying to get children at the grade school level starting to get interested in those kinds of things is just extremely important. That's where the jobs are, that's where technology is going. All around us we see it. I'm sure in your line of work, the technology just continues to improve more and more and more. Yeah. And you need people skilled to understand and be able to do it. So our goal is to light the fire in the belly of a child, to be interested in something like this, to be curious about it, to pursue it, and if it's for them, just continue on, whether it's their education or what they do in their work career. Yeah. The really cool thing about robotics and this particular level of robotics is it's very visual. So the student that may have trouble with their math and the student who you might say, I don't know if that kid is going to be able to do robotics or not, when they get their hands on this, it becomes more intuitive. It's very visual. They can, some students just love the building, and then once they build it, they're like, holy cow, and then they get interested in the code and the programming side of it. It awakens students to the possibilities. And getting back to these two, it's our educators and our mentors is what make it work. You know, so I'm down here, I'm sort of teaching the camp this. Actually, this is St. Martin's program. This is St. John's program. And the educators will become the teachers, but where the real magic happens is when you get that high school student working with that middle school student. And now that middle school student sees this big brother, this big sister, and how cool it is what they're doing, how much they know, and they build a relationship. And to me, that's where the magic happens.
And that's what you have happening in St. Louis.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have, every school that we're in, we strive to have 2 or 3 high school young men or young women who are interested in STEM or just interested in working with younger kids to try to help them understand.
Is there a particular skill set that makes one more inclined or better at doing robotics? Like, is it a mathematically inclined child, a tech-savvy child?
You know, I look at STEM, so I'm an engineer by degree and worked in industry for over 30 years. I just sort of got because I had an interest in it. I come from a family of educators. I'm on the board in St. Louis of a technical college, and so that's where students learn to weld and do precision machining and electricians. I'm an engineer myself, albeit not a very good one, but I was an engineer myself. There's a wide range of opportunities and possibilities for children. And so one child may be to answer your question, may be very inclined to do the mathematics. They take to this very, very quickly because they can see the logic. But still, that student that maybe is not so good at math, but likes to take things apart, right? Very hands-on. They too get very interested in this. They both have success at it. One may be an engineer someday, one may be a welder someday, but both will have the skills to help our countries, our industries, our businesses get where they need to be.
I'm curious as to reaction of the kids are, because I'm thinking back to my childhood. In my day, we look at it as something which is, robotics. Yeah. But it's probably just the new norm. In my day, was my bicycle.
Or Legos. Legos have been forever popular.
Well, in Belize, we didn't have, I did have Legos. I had my top and I had my bicycles, I fixed my chain. Is this the new norm for them? They look at it as nothing. What is the reaction of the kids in dealing with this?
The first day of the camp, when we had SJC and St. Martin's together, some of the SJC boys, they were moving really fast. So I said, wow, you guys are really good. So they were like, I love Lego. I like these, We've been doing this since our whole childhood. So they built it extremely fast. Yeah. And then the St. Martin's kids, they were helping putting pieces together. And now that we're working with the St. Martin's kids right now, they're moving really fast with it. They're getting all the programming and everything. And I think they're doing really good. So they're doing good with it.
When they walked in to the first day of camp, it was kind of like, not really sure what was going to happen and not many smiles. And then on Thursday, we actually had a game that we played with one of their programs where they had programmed the robot to do 15 different operations, 20 seconds for the robot to do it. When we came in Thursday, I said, okay, you got to do these 2 things. Move this block over here, take that block there. It's the same program, but do as fast as you can. If you need to eliminate steps, if you need to quicken the times and increase the speed, well, then go for it. And we set 2 world records for the Clavius project anyway, where the students, they just really got into it. And so we started seeing some intuitive critical thinking skills. Better than anything else, though, we started seeing smiles, started hearing cheers, started hearing some whooping around. I mean, I think it was a breakthrough day for us.
So encourages, I would imagine, innovation.
That's exactly right.
And that's always a bit challenging, especially with young kids, because they're kind of used to being told how to do things.
That's right.
So how have you found, the first step is putting it all together. That's what I'm hearing from you. Right. The second step is telling it what to do through the coding, right? What are some of the interesting things that you found that the kids are interested in having their robot execute?
Well, when we did the game, they had to think outside of the box, right? Because before then, they were just learning, how do I code properly? How do I write this code so that the robot will do exactly what I want?
Move forward, move backward, lift.
Exactly. So when we got to the game, it was like, okay, now the mission has changed a little bit. We want you to do this, but we want you to do it as quickly as possible. And so now they had to start thinking a different way. Yeah. You could see some students were just sort of methodically going through, but there were other students who went out of the box a little bit, And usually they eliminate steps and they speed up things, But a couple of the students were like, well, but if I just change the path, I can eliminate these other two steps. And you can start to see them rationalizing, you know, what is really the quickest way. And they got outside of their comfort zone, they got outside of the box, and it's like, are we really getting this from these kids? I mean, holy cow, you know? And we're always pleasantly surprised every school we go into. It's just amazing.
What's the most surprising thing that you've seen from your students?
Well, teamwork.
That's good.
You know, because they have personalities and they come from the same school. Some of them are from the same class. They're best friends. And so working with other people, you see that they really get into it and they work well together. We were amazed. We were amazed at how good they were. They worked so well. They were into it. I mean, man, it was really, really amazing working with the children.
So teamwork is one. What about you?
I would say it builds confidence. It builds confidence with the children. It builds confidence with us as the mentors. It teaches you patience. And I think it's a great brain stimulator for children. So.
Let's not neglect to point out, I think, one of the bigger issues here, which is the demographics of the students that you have at St. Martin's. And even if you were to compare between an SJC student, even though children from St. Martin's go to SJC as well. Seen as a South Side school, we know that there is a very serious problem with crime in that area, and you know, the children perhaps many would believe are not exposed to different types of technology. What does it mean, you think, for the students of St. Martin's to be in this project?
I think a project like this really bridges the gap between North Side and South Side and what you could accomplish being a South Side student. You know, it opens their mind and stimulates them mentally to know that, you know, as you come from the South Side means you're going to be statistics. You can be something as great as a robotics engineer. You know, you could be just like Mr. Jeff. You could be one of the world's greatest robotics engineers. You know, so like it bridges the gap. It takes them from out of the negative environment, putting them into the positive environment, you know. And so this is something really, really positive for our children, and they need things like this. They need to know that they have the capabilities just like anybody else. They could achieve anything that they set their mind to. It doesn't matter where you come from. So we just want to bridge that gap.
And it expands any horizon for any child to see beyond, I don't want to just be a doctor, I could be an astronaut, I could be a specific type of engineer. Have you seen that as well, like that expansion within the children themselves?
Yeah, this is showcasing a lot of talents that the children have. And I think, like what you're saying, it's going to open them to think that I don't have to just be the teacher, the policeman. I could be something great. You know, it's really good.
Although teachers are great too, please.
And you know, doing the camp, I also found out that you would normally say, like, these are stuff that boys want to get into. Like, girls don't really want to do building robots. But the girls are really, really great at building and really programming them. It was shocking. Like, we had a group of girls, Tadisha and Gianni, who won the world record, breaking it to 5.2 seconds, making, you know. So it was amazing.
Hey, I am always sticking up for the guys because
him too.
It's a scientific fact. It's a scientific fact that girls' brains develop more quickly than boys' brains, and so I am constantly trying to encourage, almost even shaming the guys, you know, to try to keep up with these girls because they're so terrific. And you know, one of the founding principles of the Clavius project was the belief that every child, when they're born, doesn't matter whether they're on the south side or the north side, whether they're in the States or here in Belize, every child is born with a certain potential. Their environment, their school, their family, all those things go into either helping that child reach that potential or in some cases suppressing that potential. And this is just a small way to try to open their eyes and try to get them to get to their potential. And the south side kids are smart and they are doing a fantastic job.
I know we're running out of time, but can you turn it on? Press the light.
I didn't ask.
Uh-oh.
See,
Just wait for the red light to turn green, okay?
Okay.
But, two things as we're running out of time. One, Clavius, what is that? And two, of costing. You look at this and is it something that is affordable that can exist beyond this summer?
So the Clavius project, the title is based on a few centuries ago, a Jesuit named Christopher Clavius. And while who he is, one of his most famous students, I think everybody knows, there was a rock ballad about him, and that was Galileo. And so when we started getting some traction and starting to get a lot of people asking if they could participate, a lot of schools, I told Dave Laughlin, who's the president of St. Lucie High, I said, Dave, we got to name this program something. I can't just keep saying we've got this thing. And he said, the Clavius Project. And I'm like, what is that? And he said, Google Christopher Clavius. So I did, and it was a great choice because he was a scientist, an astronomer, a mathematician who was trying to use science to explain the Catholic faith. And he had a lot of students. One of them, of course, was Galileo. The program, we're very fortunate. We have a group of very generous donors and philanthropists who make this possible. We started with about $20,000 US 3.5 years ago. This next year we'll have somewhere in excess of $125,000. We're all volunteers.
Yeah.
So every penny, every dime, every dollar that we raise goes to the Clavius Project.
To purchasing these, right?
Yeah, and so we had a very generous donor who was through Belize 2020, which is associated with St. John's, St. Martin's, and St. Louis University.
Yeah.
When he heard what we were doing, he said, yeah, why not? And he wrote a check, and we're down here doing it. And our goal is the St. Martin's folks and the St. John's folks develop this program. We will be there with them and helping them. And we've already got plans for next summer to introduce the high school boys to a higher level of coding, to do robotics, and to do the same with St. Martin's.
So the material that they have been using in the camp stays with them.
Right.
So you have your tools.
Yes.
The laptops, the robots, and all the knowledge that they've gained.
So what happens after the camp is over and you have a number of kids who've started to have an interest in robotics? Are you going to keep on working with them or introduce new children? What's your plan?
I think both. We're gonna because the ones who are doing the camp at the moment, they'll be able to assist us in teaching the others, their other classmates. Because we plan to do it as probably an evening program with Sherelee and I. Because we don't just want it to die. We want to carry it on because this is something great.
And you see the excitement in the children in the group that we have. So if we could have those children be so excited, imagine having the whole school participate in such a great project. You know,
Like how I got excited when I saw the green light. So can you do anything from here? Or there's a demo?
Jeff.
There we go. Whoa.
Whoa!
I thought there was a sensor to say end of table interview here on the floor.
Jeff.
Yes.
I'm just like the children, aren't I? Right? That's exactly what they do.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Jeff,
We can do it down here.
what's the ceiling on this? I know that's a very broad question. Ceiling for Belize, if you were here and somebody came in knowing what you know from St. Louis,
Sure.
what do you think is ideally, where should we as a country take this?
So we start
Schools?
this. So from an educational standpoint, we started with middle school robotics. So we try to get grades 7 and 8. But we have different platforms of robotics through Lego Education that goes down to the primary grades. And then we have other levels of robotics. So we use a click and drag coding system for this particular guy this summer. Next summer, we intend to bring down something called Robot C. It's a cousin to C++ coding language, which the high school and the junior college and the college kids who are interested in computer science will eventually get to. So we're going to bring that down next summer and hopefully do some parallel programs where we can get the high school kids more involved in that. And then there are 2 more levels of robotics Exactly right. So that when they get through high school, if we've lit the fire and if it's burning bright in their bellies, then they can pursue that as a college educational choice and then get jobs as computer scientists, engineers, all those kinds of things. So this is a very simple program that the students put together. And this isn't my program. This is what 2 7th graders did.
7 years is equivalent to
Standard 5.
Standard 5.
Standard 5. And so,
Does it have a sensor to see the table? Maybe not.
did you hear the sound?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it doesn't. It has sensors, but not for the end of the table.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Of course, your workshop continues this week.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Jamboree on Saturday.
you have a jamboree on. What does that mean? People can come and see what
They
you've
can
done?
at Swift Hall at St. Martin de Porres
Okay.
Parish. All the students are going to demonstrate all that they've learned the past couple of weeks, and then we have some surprises for them that they have to go program. So
Are the teachers going to do some programming too and showcase them? So much for coming in and best of luck. This is I wish I could be a kid and be in the robotics camp.
I don't have to be a kid. I can be
All right, we'll pass the age limit. They didn't say it, but they're being nice. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being
Thanks for
here
having
and
me.
best of luck.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, so stay tuned.